Good to be in this classroom. All right, so if you missed the first part of that lesson, for those that are at home, you're just missing out. All right, I got to make my face bigger. All right, so we're getting with imaginary numbers now. For imaginary numbers, I do blame opium because everybody used that like Tylenol back in the day. So here's the way that I would tell you to do this. Anytime you see a negative out there or underneath in the square root, you know that you are going to have a negative one in there. All right. And the square root of negative one is a lowercase I. That's why I've said for many years to never use lowercase I as a variable. So this is what I would do first. We know all three of these are going to have an I in them. So let's just go ahead and write the I. Okay. We just go ahead and write the I. It takes care of it. We already know it's going to be there. We don't have to do any kind of fancy schmancy stuff. Nothing to do. Because this ends up being like for this one, this is the square root of negative 1 times 4. Well, the square root of negative 1 is I. What's the square root of 4? 2. And there we go. This one is negative 1 and 36. Well, the square root of negative 1 is I. What's the square root of 36?
6.
Bam! Okay. And then this one.
10.
Okay. So 10. All right. Wow, that looked bad. All right. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. And remember, if you were to do this in a calculator, it would say domain error, like I can show you. Okay, for those at home, calculator. All right. Second square root, negative 4. Domain error. Okay, means it's not possible. Okay, so that really doesn't help us trying to understand stuff, and especially if you have a hard enough understanding with regular numbers, and all of a sudden we have these imaginary numbers.
Where did you get the imaginary numbers though?
It's okay. Do you remember when I was telling you that mathematicians were sitting around doing opium?
Yes.
Okay, this is what they came up with. Okay, this is it. They said, I don't know why they decided we needed to know this. I don't know of very many places where this is actually used in the real world. I did have a class this spring. They did that as a like a project to find places that use this, and just a brief description, and they went over from that. And that's it. Okay. Don't get wrapped up into why is it imaginary? Why do we have to say it's imaginary? Just here's the deal. Anytime we see the square root of a negative, it's going to have an I out there.
Okay.
Okay. So we need to make the main thing the main thing. All right. This part right here. This some people can do like this, and some other people may not. Okay. We used to teach this, but since we have our handy dandy calculators, it will actually do this for us. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do with my handy dandy calculator. I'm just going to take the square root of 72 because I know if I put in a negative, it'll say domain error. So I got to be smarter than this calculator. Okay. So I'm going to do second square root of 72. Okay. I'm going to hit enter. If I can get it turned the right way.
Is that a perfect number? It is?
No, it's not. This is not a perfect square. So we get 6 root 2. All right. Now, if we look over here, what is the square root of 36? 6. Square root of 2, not. 2 stays inside the house. It does not get to come out to play. It's got chores to do. It's got to wipe down the baseboards. Okay. There is one more thing that we're missing. The I. Because the square root of negative 1 is I. This is actually all you have to do for that. And
that's it. Wait, so the I stays with the 6, not goes in the box?
Yeah, the I goes on the outside of the house. All right?
Is that like an always thing? Or just
Yeah, like an always thing. Now, some people like to put it to the back. I'm not a fan of that at all because if you do that, Let me shrink myself. Now, if you do that, if you have the square root of 2i, this actually means the square root of 2 times the square root of negative 1. Okay, so that makes even less sense. Okay, so let's not do that at all. That's right. Got it. All right, so let's move on to number 4. All right, so we know it's going to have a negative 1. All right, yes. The 6. What is the square root of 36? Okay. All right. Now, this is simplifying rationals, or I'm sorry, radicals. You're trying to find perfect squares in them. But hey, Cameron, let me tell you, if you don't know your perfect squares, get one of these calculators I have back there. It will do it for you every single time. Okay? Yeah. So now this is the same thing as saying negative 1 times the square root of 18. I'm going to find the square root of 18.
Put it in the calculator.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the calculator. So I'm going to put it in the calculator like this. I'm going to hit enter. It tells me it's 3 root 2. So I'm going to put 3 in the square root of 2. Now, what else do I need? The I. Boop. That's it. Okay, now, for those that can possibly remember what happened in class or how many people were in class on Friday, the people that were here on Friday, we all resembled kind of the extras of The Walking Dead. Everybody was just basically asleep as they were here. Nobody wanted to learn anything. I didn't want to teach anything. Okay, so this is why we didn't cover this. Okay, all right. So, number 5. We know this is this.
Whoa,
All right.
Ron just said domain there.
Let me guess, you had a negative on the inside of
Maybe.
it. Maybe. All right, so square root of 24. All right, you get 2 root 6. So I'll do 2, I do root 6, and then what else do I do? Put an I in there. Okay, that's it. Okay, it's basically you're doing things that we've done before in Algebra 1 or possibly geometry with these calculators, and now you're just adding the I. That's it. That's all you have to do right now.
Pretty easy.
Yeah. I mean, we should be all over this like a fat kid on a cupcake. I say that because I am the president of the Fat Kid Committee, and we always have cupcakes. Yes.
So for the top one, the one with 2, like this one.
Yeah.
So would this just be one, like in total? Would it be one answer or?
Yeah, one answer.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So square root of 45. 3 root 5. Huh? No, it's not. Yeah. And see, here's the thing. We can make this really difficult right now, but we're not. All we're needing to know is that if we had a negative underneath the square root, we just take the square root like we would normally and stick an I on the outside of the house. That's it. Okay? That's all we need to know right now. That's it. Nothing fancy. Now, later after we get done with our the rest of our quadratics stuff, we will look into doing some more stuff with some imaginary numbers, adding, subtracting, multiplied, and stuff like that. But we're not there yet. Okay? Things to come. Yay! All right. So are we good up through number 6 right here? Kind of, sort of, maybe. Okay, some people are like, this has to be a trick. This seems too easy. Yes, it should be kind of easy. Hopefully it's not a trick. Huh? Yes, this lesson is being recorded, hence the... Yes. All right. So, now, this is where we left off on Friday. So even if you weren't here Friday, I wasn't here Thursday, and you were lost in the sauce, when you were trying to do this stuff without me, even though this lesson for the handout was in Schoology. I told y'all about it the day before, and people were like, okay, now, first thing we need to do, we need to find A, B, and C. What is A for number 1?
1,
B is?
5,
C is?
9.
All right,
Right there.
so we get to plug it in. I'm just putting stuff where stuff's supposed to go. Now, for my students that are on the OCD-ness, you're very organized with your stuff, y'all should like this stuff. For the people that are like me, that do not do very good with the organization of material things, this should help, hopefully. All right, so let's clean this up. I get a -5. I get a 2. Now,
I got -900.
Whoa.
all right. This is kind of like Charlie Brown. You know, they're all talking about what they got when they went trick-or-treating, and Charlie Brown's like, I got a rock. Okay, so I'm going to just do all this part. Remember, this is called our discriminant. I'm just going to do that without the square root sign.
Oh, without the square root?
Yeah,
Yo, is that -5? Is that a plus?
that's a plus and minus sign.
Plus and minus?
Yeah.
Like a plus.
You don't do a plus and minus on the calculator. I'll were you here Friday?
Yes, but not like
Yeah, you weren't.
here.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, so there's my discriminant. I hit enter. I get -11. Okay,
Oh, I got that.
so this is oh, that's a highlighter. This is -11. All right, so we can't type in the square root of -11 because we'll get domain error. But let's do this. Let's just take the square root. There you are. Of 11. Nice. It doesn't simplify. That's just what it is. Some people are like, why is he so excited? This is why. Because
Do you have another problem like this?
the square root of 11 is 11. Now, what's the only thing that we're missing?
The I.
The I. We are actually done with this problem.
But wouldn't you do it twice like last time?
Well, the only reason we did it twice last time from last week is we had a perfect square. Like it was like the square root of 4 or the square root of 100 or something like that, where we could actually find the perfect square. This time when we find this, it's an imperfect square. It just stays inside the house. So we try to find the square root of 11. The square root of 11 stayed inside the house because it's not good enough to come outside and play. It's got to stay inside and like reorganize the silverware or something. Okay. I don't know. I didn't have a lot of inside chores growing up. I was on the farm. Like I had to still go. I couldn't go outside to play. I still had to go outside and like scoop up horse poop or something. That was crappy. All right. Yeah. No. I guess the only thing that y'all have that could be is all kind of like if you have a fenced-in backyard and you have to like go de-poop the yard before you mow it or something.
We never had to do that. All of our animals stayed in the one area. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, y'all are better trainers than me. All right. So let's look at number 2. Okay. What is our A in number 2?
2,
What's our B?
-1,
Awesome. What is our C?
15.
All right. So now we're plugging stuff into where it goes.
Wait, it's -1?
Yes, because what's a negative times a negative?
Positive.
Exactly.
Alright.
All right. So we get 4 right here. This is a +1, plus or minus. All right. Now, remember, we're about to do the discriminant. Bless you. We're about to do the discriminant, everything right here underneath the square root sign without the square root. Oh, I done screwed that up. Good thing there's a delete button. All right. So I plug it in. All right. I get negative 119. Okay. All right. I should get negative 119. Now, as I move on, first I'm going to check to see if there is a square root of 119.
So, can you walk me through how you're typing this in the calculator?
Yeah.
I got 120.
All right. When you're doing your discriminant, for those that's getting 120, did you do the parenthesis negative 1, square it, minus?
The last time I got negative 900, I hit the negative, so minus 6.
Ah.
That's why I got negative.
Okay. All right. For those that's needing help stepping through the calculator, I'll work with y'all in just a second. When we're not recording. Hi, people at home. Okay. All right. So I'm taking the square root of 119, and I get square root of 119. That's awesome. I'm glad this is fun because this is easy.
Oh, I got it.
All right. What's the only thing I'm missing up here?
The I.
A I. And that's it.
Oh, it's the same thing. You still got I.
Yeah. See, if we had on Friday, we had problems like this where it was like 1 plus or minus the square root of 119 over 4. Well, that was our answer. But see, we have this negative right here, so we have to say it's imaginary because, math was okay until people started putting letters with it, and then all of a sudden they started putting imaginary numbers. I mean, let's just make up something. Just
because,
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. Though, if you kind of think of people that created math years ago as like an evil scientist, they're like, 2,000 years from now, some teenager's going to be sitting in the classroom trying to understand what we're doing. Then, all right. So, what's on number 3? What is our A? What is our B? What is our C? All right. So again, nothing really changing here. Still, it's the same process, just different numbers. All right. So a negative, this becomes a positive. And this is 2. All right. That's okay. I've got to do something because apparently that air worked for like 2 days. I was gone Thursday and then it quit working. So like it's hot. Okay. I feel like a pork or a piece of like roast in a crock pot right now. Okay. Yes. All right. -4.
Got a really big number.
I had negative 32.
Yeah, I got negative 32.
We'll figure that out.
All right. So now I need to find out if 32 has a perfect square in it. Okay. And I got this. The square root of 32 is 4 root 2. All right. And then we're going to put the I right here. Now, we're actually not really done with this. We could actually simplify this enough. Like, this is what's going to happen. If you give me this answer on the test, instead of simplifying, I'm just going to take off 1. Okay? Because you're almost to the correct answer. You just got to do one more step. Because this one more step, some people They don't understand it, and they're not going to be doing a whole lot of stuff with math except for adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing type stuff, like regular math, normal, everyday stuff, and they go on from here. This we can actually factor out. Like, we can divide this number and this number. Not all this, but these two, we can actually divide them by 2. Okay, so what's 4 divided by 2? So you already said that. So now, this is the actual answer. Okay, so if you give me what's in blue and not what's in purple, I'm only going to take off 1 point. Okay, and because some people, listen, for some people to get to the answer in blue, that is the biggest victory for them. And I am very proud of them. And I don't want to penalize them a whole lot. Okay? Because I may or may not have been that student at one point in time. All right. So I think now the rest of the problems, these are practice problems that we're going to be doing in class. That we're going to be going over. There is some stuff on the Schoology. So good luck, good things. Roll Tide. And I still feel like I'm in a crock pot.